Here we are just over 2.5 weeks before March 17th and the upcoming provincial budget. We've been tracking the provincial government's public comments on what to expect, and as the largest public sector union in New Brunswick, we have an obligation to advise our members, but also to advise the public of what implications the new budget might have. You see, back in December, the Premier was announcing it would be $200 million in cuts to the public service, announcing that it might be through cuts, but also perhaps through attrition, with a goal of reducing public services by 25%. Whether it comes from cuts or through attrition, it still has the same impact. There are less services for New Brunswickers. The New Brunswick Union is launching a public campaign that really has two sides to it. What you're going to see is the public side and the use of various mediums within the province, radio, TV, and print, identifying the risk that New Brunswickers might be forced to take. Those risks include a wide range of services that are provided in the public service, not only by the New Brunswick Union, but by the Canadian Union of Public Employees, PIPs, PSAC, the Nurses Union, the Teachers Federation. New Brunswickers need to realize that any reduction in the size of the public service are going to have direct implications, adverse implications, on New Brunswickers. Many of the programs and the services that our members provide are invisible to the general public. Many New Brunswickers don't fully appreciate the full scope of the positive implications that a vibrant public sector provides to them on a daily basis. In the context of the public service, three-quarter service will provide great frustration in terms of waiting in lineups at Service New Brunswick or at the hospital, but it will also increase our risk to injury on the highways. You imagine imagine a three-quarters service in highway maintenance and snowplow and snow removal. Imagine three-quarters service in the school system. Imagine a three-quarter service in basically every aspect of our lives. Three-quarters of banking regulations, three-quarters of health inspection, food inspection. We believe that it's important for New Brunswickers to understand that when the government says so glibly, oh, we're going to reduce the public service by 25%, that it's going to have a significant adverse impact on their quality of life. The flip side of the coin is the reason why the government needs to, and no one can argue, the province as a service provider, and in order to fulfill its moral mission, needs revenue. The government, though, is not willing to look. They lack the political will to look at other means of generating revenue in the province. Our public campaign serves a number of purposes. Firstly, as our job is to inform our members and the general public that there is a fair warning as to what is coming in the provincial budget. It's very clear. The government has outlined it very effectively, and they're not showing any signs of listening to any suggestions to avoid their knee-jerk reaction, the recipe that they've been following for 30 years. Another point in our campaign is to raise options, by way of avoiding having to make the cuts. The province needs revenue, no doubt about that. Public services are expensive to run, very viable to the community and our quality of life, but nevertheless expensive. We're asking the question, as the second part of our campaign, why can't the government raise revenue from sources that already exist in the province? And we have 6 bold ideas that will utilize money that already exists in this province to offset the expense of public services and avoid having you and as a public servant and the general public having to take any risks to shoulder these cuts.